So I will just say, hey, next slide.
Oh, can you see it or no?
No, you're not presenting.
I'm trying to, now mine is giving me nice little troubles. Come on, slide. Okay, here we go. I think it's gonna, okay. It's coming, y'all, I promise.
I mean, I can try and do it.
I got it.
Midway through.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
There it is.
Okay, awesome. All right, so cool. We're good with the next slide.
You don't want to talk about your cute little Bitmoji?
Oh, wait, you can, well, it's just a Bitmoji. All right, so obviously Google Drive is something that we've all been using. So it's not necessarily something that, that you're gonna have a difficult time with the task when it comes to the certification test. I mean, obviously it's a place where we can store our files. We're lucky that we don't have a limit on the amount of storage that we can have because it's maintained by the district. And all of your other Google applications can be accessed and new material can be created through your drive. So you don't have to go outside of your drive really when you're working, which is actually very helpful in situations like this where we're doing all of our work at home. Okay, next slide.
Sorry.
So part of this, the last part that I said is creating and managing files and folders. So in this presentation, I linked where it says organize your files in Google Drive, basically a web page that you can go to that kind of walks you through all the different things about how to create, how to move, how to make copies and things of that. But know that that new button, this is where you're going to create all sorts of, that gives you the ability to create all sorts of new docs, slides, forms, drawings, sheets, anything that's the Google application is there with that new button, which we've all been doing all year long since we've gotten these drives and things like that. So this is not something that will be, I don't think, difficult that in asking the questions and things for it. I myself have not taken the Cert 1 test. I was supposed to, and I couldn't do it the day that I was scheduled to do it. So I don't really know what questions that they ask about that. I don't know if anybody, Zach or Tom, if you want to jump in on that. Are there specific questions?
I haven't taken tests yet.
Okay.
The only thing I can think of is, when you hit the new button, doc slides and sheets show up, but for other applications, there's that little more. So I think at one point you have to create a quiz using Google Forms. And so you would hit the new and then you would go to the more, and then Google Forms is under more.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of at the moment.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So next slide. All right. So how to upload files and folders. Hopefully people already are familiar with this, but you can upload, view, share, and edit files with Google Drive. There are several applications to do that, like drag and drop, where you can drag your files from like your downloaded files or your files on your computer. You can drag them and drop them into your drive, or if you have something on your desktop, you can drag and drop into your drive. You can convert your uploads if they're in a Word format. There is an easy way to convert them into a doc format, which is then more easily shared and more easily workable if you're working within Docs. Plus, if you don't have Microsoft Word on your computer, some people may not have Word on their computer, but you may get set something in Word on your computer, then you're able to convert it that way too. And then if you also upload a file with something that already has like the same name that you already have, like I have a file with the same name and I'm uploading it, because Google looks at files differently, like everything kind of exists in one big space together. Things can be named the same thing, unlike things being able to be named the same thing, like on your on Windows or Microsoft or something like that. Everything has to have its own separate name. Like you can't name it the same thing. Things can exist with the same name, so it kind of it walks you through how to do that as well, how to upload files with the same name. So the little video that I put there actually covers all three of those different things. So if you are a visual person, you want to see how to do it, or you need to see how that happens, then that video would be for you. I don't know if you want to watch it now, but it's not that long, but I think it's only like 5 minutes long. We don't have to watch it. It's up to you guys.
Do you want us to watch it?
I think that they could probably watch it on their own time.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So next slide. And that just takes you once again to a website. So here's I don't know how many questions that they're going to have about this. And I was thinking about, using Docs and Drive to motivate group collaboration. I'm assuming they're probably going to have questions about this.
Yes.
As I was going through the training portion of it, because I have been doing the training, I did the training. I was like, oh, okay. And it's like the questions that they ask have a lot to do, like select all of the following that do this. And those are the things that I think for me as the test taker, I'm like, oh, that's just going to screw me up. So when you're going through those parts of the training, just make sure that you pay attention to all of the bullet point things that they give you, because when they ask the questions, and they do give you sample questions as you're going through the training, which I would suggest doing. People are like, oh, I know all about this. I don't need to do the training. I would honestly suggest doing the training, because it specifically says to you, these are the things that you need to, do. What I did, I'm giving away what I did, because I know a lot of how to do things. I would actually just go to the practice questions at the end, because with the practice questions at the end, it is showing you what they want you to know, and it's giving you the answers. So when using Docs and Drive to motivate group collaboration, I found this video from Google. Once again, you could probably watch it on your own time. I kind of picked out the most important things from it. It allows teachers to give timely feedback. It shares drives and docs with groups to collaborate, and it allows students to access from their mobile device anytime, anywhere. And one of the statements that I thought was kind of like interesting is that technology should never drive the instruction or collaboration. Be sure to use the right tool for the right job.
When Emily, when we took the test, when we helped people take the test at school before the spring break,
right,
there was questions. You touched on some of the things that were actually questions on.
Oh, awesome!
Yes, you did.
I can see the future. I'll add that to my list of skills. Okay. All right, sharing files and folders. Once again, this is something that we do already. You may not do it you may not have the same skill level, but you may actually you're participating in it. You may not even know it by accessing our shared drive for Name and Forest, by accessing any of the documents, by doing what Robin asked us to do with the cycle recoveries and having to change those forms. And sometimes she says make a copy of them versus, because it has to do with the way that if you just edit something, then you're editing the original document. That's what this part is all about. Making copies and things like that. And then this is how you're sharing it with different people. So you can share with specific people. You can share links to files and folders and limit how those files are shared. And then also, this is going to lead into Tom's part about Google Sites, is that if you're putting things on your Google site that you want people to access and that are from your drive, then you're going to need to publish those files as well in order to collaborate or to add those things to your Google slides. In Google Classroom, it does that for you automatically on your assignments and things like that. But if you're doing other applications, like I'm doing a choice board right now, that's how I've been kind of doing my assignments with my students. And so I do it in Google Drawing, create the choice board, and then the links and things that I put up there, I have to go to the document, specifically go to the document and turn on the links and the sharing links and things like that for it. So what I did at the bottom here is I found it's another school district, but I was like, man, you did a really good job. That has a link to it that basically shows you walks you through the sharing options of things and shows you what that looks like. And actually, I think links it back to, talks about Classroom and things of that nature. Yeah.
So I clicked on it. This is very good.
Yeah. So it did. I was like, listen, if somebody did all the other screenshots, then I'm not gonna do it.
No reinventing the wheel.
It shows you that it applies the same way. Sometimes you can share links publicly, meaning anybody can access it. If you share things with just people in GISD, it means only people in GISD will be able to access it. That's what I do for most of my stuff, like when it comes to my Google site and things like that, just so that, I'm not getting a whole lot of traffic in from other places. If you post things in social media groups, that do a lot of sharing and things like that. I know I'm part of a AP World History social media group. This is a good way to kind of limit the amount of, if you're getting those things that people are like requesting access, they're requesting access. This is a good skill to have in order to limit the request for access that you may be getting, depending upon how you're pushing out your digital learning. And I think that's it for me.
Yep. So next up is Tom, and he's going to go through Google Sites with you guys.
Wait, so
Okay.
Tom, can I jump in real quick before you go?
You got
One thing I remember from the test, the scenarios with Google Drive is using the search feature is highly encouraged. So if you go to a Google Drive, your screen at the top, there's a search drive. It'll say, find this file in your drive. Just type it in and hit enter. Don't go looking through folders. So save you some time.
Okay, Ardell, I think I can go ahead and present. So if you would unsubmit your presentation and I'll present.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, let me get there. Oops. Come on.
I'm sure everybody's dealing with some wonderful bandwidth problems at home. I know, Zach, you have a teacher wife like I do. And when I'm on a meeting and she's on a meeting, we really can't do that together. Am I presenting?
Yeah, it's on your screen.
I can't seem to see it on my end of it though.
So Tom, all we see is
can see
you are
it.
presenting. So you might have to go to the Google Slides tab.
Yeah.
We just see your screen. Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Creating a Google site. Why would we have a Google site? Well, it's an opportunity for you to collaborate with people outside of the school itself. You can publish it, and then you can have parents come in and see work. You can also, like Emily says, she has a class site that she does, and kids can go in and you can get information. You can get some assignments from there. People can see what you're doing in your class. So I'll just go through and show you kind of things, what you're supposed to do. So we're going to go up here into our Google Drive, go to New, go to More, and then you go to Google Sites. And of course, as you're working on it, it saves it automatically all the time you're working on it. So once you go in, you're ready to name your site. So you have a site document name, you also have a site name, and you have a page name. And so you go in here.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
So is this site linked to the classroom?
No.
It's in your
No.
drive. It's linked through your drive.
Yeah.
That's not what I wanted.
Yeah. And I know there are, while he's doing that, there are specific tasks on the tests that have you create a site and name it and alter the pages that are on that site.
Yes.
Okay, so the next slide. So you can change your background, put in different header types and themes. So from there, we can go to themes, and then again, it's show different items here. And you can insert different images. Okay, so now you can change the image, change the text. Next slide, you can create pages within the site. So you go up and create new more Google Sites add pages. So I go into here, and I go into pages. So here I can change the image. And we could also change the header type. In pages, it starts out with a home page, and that's what this one is. So if we're ready to add more pages, we come down here, it says add pages. So you could go in and have all your different classes set up. Then there can have some sub pages underneath this. So you choose your 3 dots, and you can add a sub page. And you'll notice that up here, it starts to show up, and you can go to those different pages by clicking on them. So you can go in and add text and images and embed resources. One of the ones that I have done good old slow internet. So I've got the title, this. I put in a table of contents. These are also hyperlinked buttons here. So you can insert text box, change your layout. As I said, I added a button. So I typed in text box here, and then you can, when you publish it, it'll have a hyperlink to it. But you can go to each individual item. This one had a sub page. So for example, let's say this was my project page. You can insert different items, things such as docs, slides, sheets, forms, charts for the kids to get to, or you could, as I said here, this could be your project page, and people can come in and look to see what the student work's being done. You can add dividers. so it separates the pages. You can add text. I showed you how you can put in images. You can also insert a document. One of the things you have to have done is all your work has to be in the Google Drive. So you have to upload everything from your home computer, your school computer. It has to be there. So now you can input and put in some information in here. Maybe this could be an assignment that they could have, that they can do. So we insert docs and sheets and slides. So going into your Google Drive. Okay, so then they showed the preview and publish section. And so when we go up here, this is preview. And now you can click on things. As I said, that was a hyperlink to go directly to there, or you can just go directly to those items. I put a hyperlink here that loads my syllabus. And so then they could actually download it or print it. So here you can put in different documents. You have different views you can do. You can have it set up for a phone or a tablet or a computer. So it changes the screen and how it appears, so that if you're having everybody look at it from a phone, then it's going to be published so that it fits on a phone. This is to fit on a regular desktop. This is how we exit that. And then you can go up here to the publish. And once you get done publishing it, you're going to get a link for people to put it into. So, any questions? So those are the topics that you're going to go through. I was just going to show you, this is the training site that you go to, and it shows you all the different things that you're going to learn. And you can check on each one of those. As Emily said, they'll take you directly to some questions. So it tells you these are the things you're going to learn. Here's the apps you're going to learn. You can go through each one of these, or you can just go straight forward. to the next section. And this is where you can read about the information. Then you can just go through, and they have some things for you to answer some questions. They'll have other people, what they've said, other teachers. Sometimes there's a little, we saw in Emily's, they have a little square that you can click on and the video pops up. And then here are your different questions that you're going to answer. So if you put in an answer, you get to check it. And you, hey, I did it right. And then you have to click on all that apply. And if you get it wrong, they'll say you got it wrong, so you try again until you get it right. So that's all that I had to share.
Thank you, Tom. I think, Zach, you're up next.
I'm up next. Okay. I'm going to try to do the present thing like Tom did. We'll see.
You can do it. You got this.
All right. Guess let's just do entire screen. Okay, can y'all see it?
Not yet.
Maybe.
Sometimes it takes a minute.
I see it now.
Can y'all see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm going to go over Google Classroom. Google Classroom's been around for a while, and I'm sure a lot of y'all have been using it. I'm going to go over the basics and what I can remember from the test. So the basics, you go to classroom.google.com is the website. You hit the little plus sign that I tried to highlight there, and then it drops down to create a class or join a class. You would create a class. And so it'll create your class. If you hit the little cog, it lets you add description, room number. You can see the class access code, the join code that students need. And you can edit student abilities, like whether they can comment on things or post stuff into the stream. And new features, you can turn on the Google Meets now. So the stream is kind of like your news feed. Anytime you make an announcement or post or anything like that, an assignment, it'll pop up here in kind of an abbreviated form. In this little box, you can make announcements. If you've already made an announcement and you want to just repost it into a new classroom, you would use the little arrows over here to use posts from other class. The classwork page is where you can view assignments, create assignments and materials, and kind of organize them into topics. So if you click this create button, it drops down to, has a couple options, assignments and quiz assignments. Create assignments, you got to type in a title, and then you can add attachments and things like that. The only thing about quiz assignments is it attaches a blank Google form to it. So I normally don't use that one. I usually just make an assignment, and I already have a Google form I want to attach. You can ask students questions. It can be a free response question or a multiple choice question. You can post materials for students. So if it's like an attachment you want to share with them, but not necessarily something you want them to work on and turn in, then you would do this material right here. You can reuse assignments that you've already posted in other classes. And then at the bottom where it says topics, you can organize assignments into topics. So this is if you would create an assignment. Okay. Could give it a title, give students instructions, and then you could add a file to it. You can add multiple files. As far as I know, there's no limit to how many you can add, but it can be a file from your Google Drive. So I know on the test, it'll say create an assignment and add this file from your Google Drive. So you'd click on the Google Drive, And then there are options for students can view the file, students can edit the file, and students have their own copy. So there are 3 options when you do a file or a Google Drive. You can attach a link, which if you have a website or something you want a link, you can attach to that. YouTube, it pulls up just the YouTube, and you can search and it'll attach whatever video you want to add. Up here where it says 4, you can select what classes you want it to post in. You can post to multiple classes. Students, if you have one class selected, you can select which students it posts to. It doesn't have to be all students. It can be specific ones. And then you can set the due date. So when do they have to turn it in? All right. And then, like I said earlier, you can organize them into topics such as, I don't know, Unit 1, Unit 2, or 5th grading cycle, or however you want to do it. Once you have everything set up the way you'd like, you can assign it, or if you click this little drop down, you can schedule it so it'll post at a later date, or you can save as a draft. Under the People tab, you can see you can invite teachers to be co-teachers with you. You can invite parents. Over with the invite guardians, you can email the guardians. If the student got in there that's not supposed to be, you can check on them and remove them. Yeah, that's how you see who's in your class and kind of manage your roster. And that's all from mine. I do know that you did have to post things to specific students and set the permissions, so y'all can still see mine. So if you had an assignment, if you wanted to add something from your Google Drive, because I remember there was one where you have to allow them to make a copy. So we'll just pick this assignment. I'm not actually going to post it, but here you can see what the students' options are. You can have them just view the file. You can have them have the ability to edit the file, or you can do make a copy for each student so that a student gets sent a copy of it. It'll be attached to this assignment. I believe that's on the test, is make a copy for each student. And then there's one where you want them to edit it, but it's only to a certain amount of students. Probably shouldn't do that. All right. Any questions?
So Zach, there was a specific question about a couple questions about Google Classroom. One of them had to do with, hold on, I gotta get back down to it. Had to do with adding people. The GISD created classes. How do we add and remove students, or can we?
So that's a great question. I don't think it's going to be on the test,
right?
Because
we'll just ask questions.
Yeah. But I believe you can give them the code. You can give a person the code, but I know it refreshes every now and again, so I don't know if they would get kicked out.
Right, because the GISD classes are linked to Skyward, and so any time that a move is made or something like that, the students are automatically withdrawn or enrolled because of the linking to Skyward.
Yeah, I think anytime they do a sync like that, and I want to say they do it almost every night. They either add it, or I probably shouldn't share student names. But
so if that's not the way that it is in your Skyward, like if that student's not in that class in that Skyward and you're using a GISD created Google Classroom, which you don't have to use a GISD created classroom, you can create your own classrooms. But then if there is a student that is set up for that particular class period that's not in that class period, I think there might be something that might happen with that.
I agree, because I went in and added, or Miss Knowles was asking, kind of what the students see, and I went in and joined her class. And unless she kicked me out, or what, but I'm no longer in her class. So I think whenever it refreshes, it says, oh, you're not in this Skyward created class, so it kicks you out.
Okay, the next question about Classroom had to do with, is there any way to get Classroom to put student submissions into folders rather than dumping them into your shared drive?
So get their submissions into folders instead of putting them in your shared drive.
Yeah, each of your classrooms has a folder.
Yes, there's a Classroom folder in Google Drive. But if I'm being honest, the only way I access what they turn in is through Classroom. I don't go into Drive and find it. I go to the assignment that they turned it into and access it that way.
I do the same thing.
So I don't have a good answer there. I see once you've posted an assignment, can you alter it? Yes, you can. There are limits on what you can do with student permissions, though. So if you didn't choose the make a copy for each student the first time, once you go into edit it, you can't select make a copy. I think you can change it to view only, though.
And there are also other limitations. Let's say you have the same class that you're posting the same assignment to multiple classes. If you do that at the beginning and select multiple classes and then post the assignment, if you want to go back and edit it, let's say something wasn't clear in your directions or something, there's no way to go back and do that in one fell swoop. You actually have to go into each individual class and edit your directions that you wrote there.
Yeah.
You can always take an assignment and delete it, and then put the assignment link back in, and then do the changes that you want.
That is 100% true.
Okay. Scott says, if you give students the right to edit a file, does everyone collaborate on the same document? Yes.
Yes, if you say students can edit file, that means everybody can edit the same one. If you want them to do something differently, then you have to make a copy for each student.
Right.
Yeah, they're editing their own copy and they're resubmitting it for a grade. Yes.
Correct. Okay, what do we do so when the kids get a worksheet as an assignment, they can put their answers directly on the worksheet and submit it for a grade? It kind of depends on how the students open the file. If they're on a Chromebook, they can open it in Docs and type in it, depending on if it was a doc or what type of file it was. If they're on their Chromebook or their iPad or their phone and they have the app, there's actually a way for them to draw on the assignment or write on the assignment, like with their finger, and it creates a PDF of whatever they did and attaches it to the assignment.
Yeah, you can use extensions like Cami in order to do things like that, which is somebody asked about that in the chat over on the side, and Ardell posted the link to it to get the extension for Cami. I would suggest, because it's easiest, if we're all using, and most of our students are using Chrome-based devices or have access to Chrome, I find it personally easier just to simply put all of my assignments in a Google Doc format. Or something or Google Sheet or a Google Slide, or use something that I can know that I can go in and put a copy of, and then they're going to send it that way, since the platform we're utilizing is Chrome.
Yeah, I agree.
But you can, if you want them to edit text or you want them to annotate text or something like that, Cami is a very great extension for that.
Yeah, I don't know if Cami's free or not.
I think it is.
I don't know. I've never used it. I downloaded it and never messed with it. I find, like, when the students
there's certain applications on Cami that are not,
Yeah.
but the basic applications are.
Yeah, like, and I hope I don't go over time here. I'm gonna try to present again. Screen within a screen. I don't know what y'all see right now. What do y'all see?
Just you.
You'll just see me?
There you go. We're starting to present.
Okay. Can y'all see my mouse down here?
Yeah.
So this is the Classroom app, and if they're using their phone or their iPad and they download the app, or if they're on the Chromebook, if they use this and they try to open an assignment, I'm going to try to find where I'm a student, and usually let's try this. So this is what the student would see on their phone or their iPad. And if I wanted to open this, I could click on it. And if I hit this little square here, it's going to open it up in Google Slides, either on their phone or their iPad, or if they're using the Chrome app. If it'll ever load, there's a little pencil usually that pops up over here. Oh, just kidding. It's not going to pop up for me. But if you did the make a copy, there should be a little pencil that pops up here that allows them to draw on it, and they could write in their answers, but it's not working for me right now. So I'm going to stop presenting.
Are there any more questions? Just keep posting those questions in the chat, and one of us will get them answered as soon as we can, or we can answer a bunch of questions at the end, however you guys prefer. Is there any more questions over something we've covered so far? Drive, Docs, or excuse me, Drive, Classroom, or Site? So go ahead and get those in. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to present my screen. Oh, they'll get the questions answered for you, and I'm going to present my screen. Find it. There we go. So I hide everything, my entire screen. And I'm going to finish us off. This is not everything that's on the test. We're going to have another boot camp next week. We're going to try to cover just about everything that's on the test so that when you guys get ready to take the test, you'll feel a little bit more comfortable doing that. So let me find where we are now. Click forward. So those were good classroom questions. They really, really were. So just keep asking the questions, because it doesn't necessarily have to be for the test. It can be for stuff you are doing in your everyday class too. So if it's not about the test and you want to ask the question, I promise you one of us will know the answer. So just go ahead and keep posting questions, and it doesn't even have to be something about the test. Okay, so now we're going to go to forms. What you need to know for the test. So I'm going to hide this. So you will be able to, or you need to know for the test, how to create a Google form, how Google form has questions and what types of questions are on a Google form, how to embed a video in a Google form, how to check form settings before you send it, how to send a Google form, and how to view form responses. How did I know that this is everything that you need to know on a Google form? Well, Emily gave us a document, and I will show you that document at the end as one of the resources. And it tells you kind of step by step what you need to know. And also I've taken the test, and then I help teachers take the test. And some of these things came up during the task session especially. So anyway, if you want to follow along with me, go ahead and type in your web browser. If you type in your web browser, forms, if I can just spell, .new, it'll give you a new form. Yay, see, woo, it's pretty, right? So if you're following along on your web browser, that's perfectly fine too. But I'm going to get off of this so I can show you the slides as we go along. Let me see. Let me go back. Okay. And it took me back to the whole presentation because it loves me. Okay, so anyway, so I'm sorry, my internet's slow. I live way out in the country, so my internet is really slow. Yeah, they think their internet's slow. My internet's super slow. Okay, so anyway, the type of questions. If you notice on your form as you're doing this with me, this is your question bar right here. This plus sign is add a question. This one right here is, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little confused because I'm watching both screens. Is add a format. This one is add text. This one is add images. This is add videos, and this is add section. Okay, so these little bars are important too. This right here, the first one, when you go to push the plus sign and ask a question, it'll give you these choices in the drop-down menu. So the short answer and the paragraph is if you want, definitely want to ask a question that students need to type out. Multiple choice is probably the easiest one to grade. Check boxes will give you a drop-down menu and they can choose more than one. Of course, drop-down also gives you a drop-down menu. Check boxes are kind of more efficient that way. You can upload a file. You can have a linear scale. Why would you need that? Well, a linear scale, you can do like, how much do you like this lesson? And it'll give you a 0 to 5, and the kids can put a scale in. Multiple grid choice and checkbox grids is just like if you want multiple, like a different way to do multiple learning strategies. And then of course, date and time questions. A lot of the time when you drop down, excuse me, I'm sorry. When you drop down this menu, or you put a question in, if you type a question in, it will automatically decide what type of question it is. So I'm going to click on my forms.new again, sorry. So I can show you. Okay, so usually when they ask you to title a form, so I always just make up a title and I'll put this one as sample. Okay, so when I go to ask my first question and I ask if I go to ask my first question, I ask, what is your name? Which is always my first question. See, it automatically populates. And those bars I was talking about, all of this right here, I can do a drop down on this and it'll give them options of their name. I can do check boxes and they can pick more than one answer. Multiple choice. I can upload a file, which is always good. If you decide to do a question that comes from like a really star question or something like that. The linear scale, like I was talking about, it gives you 1 to 5. This is probably my favorite ones right here to use, the date, because you can put in a date and a year and the time. It'll make you your question and time. So all of those are really good. This, you can import questions from wherever you get your questions from. That took me automatically to my drive. You can add text. This is not really a question, but you can add text. This is always good for directions. Images that you can get. You can search an image. You can get an image from your drive. You can connect to your whatever's on your computer and get them from your photos. You can put an URL in there. Or it also can connect with your camera. And this, like I said, is add a video, which we'll go over that in a second. And the last one, if you want to add a section, it'll give you a whole nother section, which is good when you're doing like different sections of the same assignment. So is everybody with me so far? Any questions? Just post them in the chat and they'll get them, I promise you. Okay, the next slide, embedding a video in a Google form. I just showed you where the video thing is. So step 1, click on the video icon. Step 2, type in your URL or the name of your video. Select the video you want and it'll show up in your question, your form. If you're doing it for a section, it'll show up in your section. This right here, I created using Screencastify, and it's actually a GIF. So it runs on a loop and it actually shows you step by step how to do it without having to hear my annoying voice. So back to my form. So on this form, I want to add a video. Let's say I want to add a video with this question. So I'm going to click on the video. And if you want to do it with me, that's fine. Of course, I teach science. So I always go to my go-tos, phases of the moon. I used to teach science. I miss science. It'll give me choices. I will look for the video that I want, click on it, and then click select. There it is, boom. And it actually plays as a video. If you're not sure what's going on with your form, just hit this little preview thing and it'll let you see it in real time. And see, the kids will see it just like this. And then you can always go back to your original form. So anytime you want to see what you're doing on a form or what it's going to look like for the kids, click the preview. That's always a good button to have. Okay, so any questions about embedding a video? It's actually very simple. And I'm going to tell you on the task that I saw when we were helping people with the test, when we were coaching people along with the test before the end of school, every one of their tasks have them almost embed a video in a Google form. So that's something good to know because it might show up on your test too. Okay, so the next thing that you need to know is how to check your form settings before you send it. Okay, I did make this a video for you guys. I'm not going to play it right now. It's about a 2-minute video just so I can describe it. But if you want to do it real time with me, we go back to my form. This is my form. Okay, so this is actually how you send it. But before you send it, you want to check your settings. So basically, you'll go to this little wheel here. This little wheel is everything. So you go to this little wheel. Oops, let me click in the right place on my computer. And you check your settings. If you want your form to collect your student emails, click here. Okay? If you want to get a response receipt, every time a kid fills out your form or someone fills out your form, you can decide if a respondent requested or if you want it to respond every time. So, I said you get a receipt. They'll get a receipt every time. Either they'll always get a receipt when they fill out the form or they'll get it if they request one. Okay? If you want to restrict your form only to Garland ISD users, then that's what you click here. If you want to limit your response to one response, so that means that they can only access and fill out your form one time, you click here. And if you do this, I usually, with my kids, especially if it's something that I need them to learn, you can do this. They can edit it after they submit it, but they can only submit it once. If you want to see a summary of the responses, you click on there. You can unclick or click any of these boxes, but these are choices you have. The presentation, which is up here, is also under that same settings wheel. Basically, if you have a bunch of sections in your form and you need to show your progress. So that's basically the show the progress board, so that people or kids can know how much they have to do. You can also shuffle the question order. This one, I don't know why it's not filling out, but if you ask for a confirmation, it gives you your response has been recorded unless you put something else there. Okay, so that's presentation mode. If I was going to make this form a quiz, which a lot of us do, I have to actually turn it on to make it a quiz. Okay. The nice thing about the Chromebooks, if you turn on this locked mode, it's good and it's bad. It means that no students can open any other tabs while they're taking your test because it's locked to you. So if you turn on the locked mode, then the students cannot open your tabs, any tabs up here, that they actually just have to stay on the test. Okay. You can release the grade to them immediately after they submit or later. I usually use the later because I don't want them sharing that information with the other kids. The respondents are people who fill out the form can see how many questions they missed, how many they got correct, and how the point values. You can click on all those or you can click on none of them. If you turn on a form, make it a quiz, it automatically defaults to these ones. So like mine will automatically default. I've never messed with these settings in the main settings, and it always defaults, and normally so does everybody else's. After I do that, I have to save it. And that's basically the settings before you send it. Any questions about that? Put it in the chat. Sorry. This video is basically what I just went over. So if you need extra help with that, this video is basically what I went over. I do remember a question on the test, and we're not supposed to give specific information, but I do remember a question on the test that told me to make it a quiz, a task. It wasn't a question. Make it a quiz. And then before I send it out, and to also limit what they could do as it was a quiz. And so that was helpful for me when I took the test. Okay, the next thing you need to know is how to send your Google form. Of course, I did another one of those Screencastify gifts. These are amazing. I'm telling you, it's all the options right there, and it's easy breezy, beautiful. If you're teaching kids, this is great for teaching kids. I'm sorry, I digress. So anyway, there's 3 ways to send your form. You can click send at the top. select link, and then copy and paste the link into the classroom, email, whatever you want. You can click send and then add collaborators and type in the name or the email and then send it. And then, or you can click send, then type a name and under email and then send it. The one I think that people use the least, and this is the send button up here in case you didn't know that. The one people use the least is probably this direct email one. So I rarely use this. And if I type in, let's say I'm going to type in Tracy, she'll come pop up because I send a lot of stuff to her. And so I can send it to her. I can send a subject to it. I also can send her a message. I've invited you to fill out a form. That's what the automatic message is. I can send that to her. If you want it to automatically collect those emails, you have to type that in. And if you want to include the form in the email, you have to also have to click that button. The second way I was telling you guys, and then hit send. The second way I was telling you about is to add the collaborators. This is probably what I do more than often because you can choose if they can edit it. And if you add a collaborator, they can actually work on the form, change things in it and everybody. But so this is limited. You want us to do that limited, but you have to click done after you're done. Let me get out of that. And then the last way, the first way I told you about was just the plain link. This is probably one of the common ways too. I always shorten it because that long thing is just annoying. And then you copy it and then you can paste it into anything you need it to go to. Okay. Any questions? Post them in the chat. Okay. So oops. Oh, sorry. Going back. I got a little carried away. This is the last thing that's on that thing that tells us, and I'll show you that in a second. It's how to view form responses. Now, I made another training gift for this. You click on the responses, then click the plus sign, and finally select create a new spreadsheet. Or you can click on the responses at the top, then click the 3 dots, then choose select response destination. Number 2, the second one I told you only works if you've already done number 1 and you're revisiting that form. This is also how you choose a response destination. So I cover 2 things under 1. So basically, if you're working on it real time with me, here's your form, right here's your questions, right here's your responses. If you click on responses and then click the plus button, it'll give you the option. You can add this to, you can make a whole new spreadsheet, which is normally what we do, or you can add it to a existing spreadsheet, which I've done a couple of times. I don't do that very often because I like my own spreadsheets. So when you hit create, it's going to bada boom, bada bing, you get a whole spreadsheet. Yay. If you go back, and at this point, after I've already created that, I hit the 3-dot box right here. You can get email notifications for new responses. So if someone responds to your form, you can click on this and it'll blow your email up every time someone responds, kind of like mine is blowing up today. You can select a response destination, which is basically the same thing. It can go onto a spreadsheet. So since I already have a spreadsheet, I'm going to select this spreadsheet and it'll take me back to that window. Also, what else does the 3-dot box do? You can download the responses to a CSV. That doesn't necessarily, you can download them and load them up into Skyward because there's a whole process to do that. Or maybe you don't want those responses on that sheet because you want to use it for something else, you can delete them all. So that's basically it with forms that you're going to see on this test. I can't think of anything else that was covered in on this test in forms. So if you have any questions, oops, my other computer has logged me out because I'm not active. That's how I'm seeing things that are going on in the chat. So if you have any questions, just post them in the chat and pretty sure they'll answer them. So if you have any questions about anything, because basically those are the 4 things that we're covering today. Next Friday, we're going to cover a couple of other things. So, but here's the part that I think is worth your money and your participation. How did I get the information that I knew where the forms was? Well, Emily, and I might have her explain this, sent us a bunch of stuff yesterday that's actually very good. If you guys have a Twitter account and you don't follow Casey Bell, I would suggest you follow her on Twitter because she's got great information that's going to help you with this test. Right, Emily?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Shake Up Learning is the name of her blog, essentially, is what it is. Shake Up Learning. And she's very active on Twitter and tweets out a bunch of stuff. And I mean, some things are behind a paywall, but most things are free.
Yep. And so what Emily got from her was this. It's a capacity matrix. And as you see, you can click on anything that's blue because it's hyperlinked. But here's the apps and the tools. And so it tells you what you need to know, your knowledge and skills. And then it also sends you, my bad. It also sends you to a place where you can actually figure out how to do them. Right. So this matrix is amazing. And when Emily sent this yesterday, I was like, what the world? And so I had to change my.
Some of them are videos, YouTube videos that it sends you to. And everything's basically, I mean, it's from Google. So it's all coming from the peeps that the test is that we're taking. So
exactly. And so these are those categories right there that I chose to do for forms because they were on here. And so it also has ones for sheets, which we're going to do sheets with you guys also. Drive, Classroom, Keep. How many of us ever use Google Keep? I think I used it one time, but there is some small section on the test. We don't even have Gmail, but we have to know some stuff about Gmail.
We have to know stuff about Gmail.
And Google Calendar, Google Hangouts, Google Sites, Google Groups. This is actually really good stuff. Oh, and YouTube. I think the YouTube part was the part that slowed us down the most when we were taking the test. And that and Sheets. Everything else was work fixable and you could figure it out, but YouTube.
I think the matrix will help too. And so you can kind of go through and look at it before you get into the training. So then you could be like, oh, I know how to do this. So then you can kind of decide how you want to spend your time in the training.
Exactly. This right here is also sent by her. I think this was sent by her. Yeah, this was sent by Emily, and it's a complete guide to Google certifications. And it's also, there she is, by Casey Bell, but she doesn't look like that in person, I'm gonna tell you. That's what she looks like. So this kind of gives you some information also that's good to know about the training paths that you choose to take. And then it tells you stack by stack what you need to know, what you need to do, how much the test costs and everything else. This is really good information too. So we included it as part of your resources. So you'll have them all in one place. It's a lot. This is 19 pages of information about that you could use. Most of it pertains to all the tests, but this is good if you're going to take the level 1 test, which all of y'all are going to. How to pass the Google Cert exams guide right here. This is also a Casey Bell. I'm telling you guys, go follow her on Twitter. She's,
hey, Ardell.
Yes, ma'am.
This is part of my drive thing. So Scott just wrote that the last 3 links are telling him that he needs permission to access the files. So
yours are
permissions. You got to share them. Yeah.
We'll have to go and try to figure out how to open those up, but we'll get them working. I promise. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that.
No, that's a common. My students will tell me that all the time when I post something on my website or something like that. They're like, I can't access it, and it's because I didn't turn on the sharing permissions, basically.
Yeah. So we'll get that done, and I promise you can click them at another time, and they'll come on. This site right here was sent to me by another one-to-one coach, and it's basically educator level 1. And so it tells you everything you need to do. And then it kind of gives you a good little outline, gives you some videos, exam logistics. It tells you everything that you need to know. And these are clickable links. So this is a good resource also. Another coach uses that at his school, another one-to-one coach. All these resources we're giving you will help you with this test, I promise you. And then I found a quizzes over what we covered today. So this quizzes over what we covered today. I don't know if I'm logged into quizzes. You can take this in your spare time. This one I like because the questions remind me of the questions, the multiple choice questions on the test, where I'm not going to play it, but I'll let you just see. This reminds me a lot of the questions on the multiple choice part of the test. So go ahead and play it a couple of times. And I don't know who made it, but they sure did come close to those questions. So I added that on there. So that's all we have for you today. Emily or Tom or Zach, do you have anything else to add?
No.
I'm fixing the links or trying to.
Oh, Tom, okay. Thank you, Zach. I knew someone would get on it. Also, remember, the best advice I can give you about this test, when you get ready to take your test, just have your mind right and have a quiet space to work. It's 3 hours and you're like, oh God, got that. I'll be done in 2.5 or 2 hours. Well, actually, the best advice I can give you is to try to get the multiple choice done within 45 minutes to an hour. And then that gives you 2 hours for the task, because it does take that long because there's so many of them. Anything else? Zach, you were pretty good at helping with the test. I mean, helping.
You know, the most difficult things are probably the stuff that you don't work with most often. Like, so for me, like trying to use Google Calendar or Gmail, because it's, kind of not what we use. We use Outlook or whatever. That was the most difficult. And don't overthink it a lot on the tasks, just because I know a lot of people were taking a lot of time. Like, well, does it mean this or does it mean this? I'm like, well, I think you'd probably do it either way and it'd be fine. But so that's my advice.
And if you need any help with anything, we're here for you guys. Next week, I think we're going to hit Sheets, YouTube, and probably Gmail or Calendar, one of the two. So join us next week and we'll go over Sheets, everything you need to know about Sheets, YouTube. And I'm telling you, YouTube was the one that stumped me. How do you feel about YouTube, Zach?
Well, I think it was just that one task, because it required it required you to refresh, or it required a step that it didn't exactly tell you to do.
Exactly.
And that was the difficult part that I recall.
Yeah. So join us next week for our next exciting edition of We're Going to Get You Past This Test. As a Google reference district, we think that it's soon going to be required. So just giving you all a heads up with that. Okay, well, that's all we got for you. If you want to stick around and ask questions about anything, we'll be here for a few minutes. But other than that, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you. And make sure you're signed in. Yeah, there's that. Good job, y'all. Wow. You guys did good.
Did we answer how many weeks are we doing this?
How many weeks do you think it will take? I say 3.
Three?
We could probably cover everything.
That'll take us pretty much to the end of the school year.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know, right? Tom for posting the links. Tom, I learned something from you about sites today.
Oh, you did?
I didn't know, and I make sites all the time, so that was very good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So
I just covered all the topics. I just covered all the topics that were in the
matrix. I'm telling you, that matrix document's amazing.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, yeah. But it was nice to have Zach and you guys who've taken the test already to comment on some things, just to kind of be like, this is what, not giving away answers, but just saying this is what they focused on,
Yeah.
Having a tip. I think that's really good.
Exactly. So are you guys committed for 2 more weeks of this? And then
no, I'm huge. Listen, I'm going out of town on Friday.
So will we have to do it Thursday?
I'm going to do the help session on Fridays.
You're going to do another help session.
Oh, you mean help? You wouldn't just help with stuff? Is that what you're saying?
That's what it looks like.
Still a little chicken. Yes, we're doing. I think she's talking about boot camps.
Yeah, or like when we
Never
when we're all
talk
sat
about
in the
health in
computer lab
general.
together. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always, I mean, you can, anytime, I mean, I don't know. Yes, I didn't know about the test session at school. Okay, how are you going to have another help session? Let me get back together. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, like, you mean like a help session, like we all do the test at the same time?
I think that's what she means.
Okay, yeah.
Can we?
Yeah.
Yes. I would think so.
If you have two computers, we could help you on Zoom and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Or
exactly.
Google Hangout or something like
Yeah.
that. We can hang around and
We can hang around and help you if you want. I mean, yeah, right now can help.
yeah. So maybe we can schedule a time that we can all take it together. We can figure it. We'll figure it out because me and Zach ran a whole testing session, and we did a lot of help. We did a lot of support. But I mean, it was good. It was really good.
There are
Thank you, Miss Gill, for coming.
There's 13 sections in the training center.
Yeah. I was gonna say, but I shouldn't say, if they do go and take the test, it gives them credit. So they just, like, there's a test at the end of each module, and then if they go ahead and take the test, at least that's how it's working in level 2. But I'm pretty sure it looks like that in level 1.
That's how I got my my vouchers or whatever.
Yeah. So if you just go take the test in the training center, which I shouldn't say.
Yeah. Well, you got to take the test, and if you get a 100, then you're like, oh, I'm good. And then if not, you're like, oh, what did I miss? I'll go back and read on that. So.
Yeah, that way you don't have to go through all the modules. And I think I had it posted on that first page of that slide.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna log off. I got an AC guy here. He's fixing our AC. So.
Oh,
Cool.
Lord.
Sorry.
All right. I'll see you.
Okay. So,
See ya.
well, I'm going to.
I'm going to go as well. Can't.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Stop recording. That always helps.